Happy Friday, everyone. Happy July, happy summer, happy wherever you are. I want to discuss an important topic, and it's something that has been in the general sphere of conversation for quite some time, and that's climate change. Just reading through some of these headlines from some important and big, I wouldn't say important, but definitely big periodicals. I'm reading over some of these headlines recently, and for example, here we have Forbes. Says July likely to be the hottest month ever recorded. And that's just one of the headlines. There's several. They're probably all over the place. They're all talking about how hot the summer is. The New York Times says this looks like Earth's warmest month. Hotter ones appear to be in store. The Guardian across the pond says era of global boiling has arrived. Says UN chief as July to be the hottest month on record. So that's the big buzz phrase now, the hottest month on record, the hottest days on record. And I just wanted to bring up something from the past. It wasn't that long ago in my lifetime when you had people that were chanting and crying about the world going into a freeze. In Time magazine, I believe in December 1973 had a couple of them actually. Time magazine says the big freeze, right? And they also had How to Survive the Coming Ice Age. And this was been the 70s. This was 1977, I believe. So, I mean, it used to be where they thought the world was going to freeze. And now they're thinking the world's going to boil. So I wanted to get something in the middle to kind of look at, to chew on. Because I know this is an important thing. And I know people are really passionate about that. And I'm not trying to downplay that. But we have to be realistic here, okay? We have to be realistic here. In the sense, my position on this has always been, we live in this world and we're always trying to make life more convenient for ourselves. We're always trying to make things better, quality of life for everyone, and that has an environmental cost. And, really, if you want to have the least amount of environmental impact, you have to surrender a lot of the conveniences and a lot of the things that we enjoy, the technology we enjoy, the homes that we enjoy, the comfort that we enjoy. All in the effort to have a standard of living higher, to have a better quality of life. And I think most of us are not willing to do that. Let's just be realistic about that. We're not. And the people that are crying about this climate change the loudest tend to be the people that want to give up the least. In 2007 was probably 16, 17 years ago, I'm thinking. Yeah, about 16 years ago. So in 16 years, but this was the trend back then, in the early 2000s, where people were talking about global warming. And it's only intensified over the course of the last couple of years. So here, the NASA administrator Michael Griffin continues to draw the ire of preeminent climate scientists inside and outside of NASA. This dude was involved in NASA, as well as members of Congress, after apparently downplaying the need to combat global warming. So this was the interview that he did on National Public Radio, NPR, right? Or I call it No Pulse Radio. I just want to say I understand that this is a little bit further back, but what he says is really, really going to the point of what I was just talking about. So he says, NASA Administrator Michael Griffin continues to draw the ire of preeminent climate scientists inside and outside of NASA, as well as members of Congress, after apparently downplaying the need to combat global warming. This is a direct quote from him. He says, "I have no doubt that a trend of global warming exists," Griffin told Inskeep. "I am not sure that it is fair to say that it is a problem we must wrestle with." Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Stay with me. To assume that it is a problem is to assume that the state of the Earth's climate today is the optimal climate, the best climate that we could have or ever have had, and that we need to keep steps to make sure that it doesn't change, Griffin said. "I guess I would ask which human beings, where and when, are to be accorded the privilege of deciding that this particular climate that we have right here today, right now, is the best climate for all other human beings. I guess that's a rather arrogant position for people to take." So Griffin's comment immediately drew stunned reactions from James Hansen, which is a NASA top climate scientist, et cetera, et cetera. So naturally, this had a lot of people upset because honestly, what he said back then, and I would parrot that right now, is like, who's going to be the person who decides what is the ideal place for us to be as in the climate of the world? Who gets to decide this? Who oversees it, and who will have the power over this? Because essentially what that means is whoever this person or whoever this committee or whoever this panel or organization is, they are going to control things in your life. All the conveniences that we enjoy now, they're going to be able to regulate. They're going to be able to stop it. They're going to be able to continually downgrade it. We're going to be able to eliminate it. And I'm sorry, but you may care about the climate, and I do too, but I don't think any of us are ready or willing to give up our conveniences. I don't think anybody watching this is ready to give up their house or to turn off their AC, or to give up their lands or to stop driving their vehicles, electric or not. They're just not willing to not travel on air, not get on the bus. They're just not willing to stop going to restaurants or using your cell phone or being on Facebook. You're not willing to give that up. Let's just be honest. Let's be real with each other. You're not willing to give that up. And so what ends up happening is you have these people, these really grifters, that take advantage of that because they know that we're not going to. They know that we're not going to give that up. So what they're going to do is they're going to put that and project that responsibility on big corporations. Oh, they're the big guys. Big bad corporations are polluting the air, they're polluting the water, they're polluting the lands. They're doing it because they're meeting a demand. Okay, and that demand is falling squarely on our shoulders. So to blame completely the corporations on this, I know that I'm going to get some static for this. I know that there's people they're gonna want to counter that or push back on that. But explain to me how how the corporations are going to expand and grow if there's no demand. How is it that the EV manufacturers who are mining the hell out of Africa and other places for exotic materials in order to make the electric vehicles, because the demand has grown so much, how are they going to get these materials if they don't mine it? How are they going to get these materials if they don't use these poor countries for basically slave labor? How are they going to do that? Are you going to give up your cell phone? No. Are you going to give up your car? No. You're not going to give up anything. Let's face it. And so you want to put that blame on these big corporations. You want to blame everybody that's big because it's easy to attack somebody who's got a lot of money, somebody who's got a lot of pull, somebody who's probably circumventing the regulations because in their eyes, they need to meet a profit. They're only going to exist. Businesses exist because they need to make a bottom line, because they are, especially if they're public companies, they're working at the behest of their shareholders. They have to satisfy their shareholders. And so the shareholders want to maximize their profits. Again, shareholders are investors, probably people who have money for their retirement, people who are looking to expand their businesses, people who are looking to have a nest egg for when they get old. And so they put this pressure on these companies to maximize their profits. How are they going to do that? They're going to try to circumvent regulations. And so cutting those corners has an environmental effect. So this is coming full circle for me. I've always thought this. This is not something that I'm just coming up with right now. People, I mean, I get it. We do have a climate problem. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that we don't. But at the same time, if this was a problem that was collectively caused, it needs to be solved collectively. And I don't think any of us are really willing to give up those luxuries, those conveniences that we have. I really don't think so. And the moment that these regulators, these congressmen, these politicians, and the politicians can dance around the issue all they want. But when they put together and when they allow a group or a person or a small group of people to decide for the rest of us what we will be able to use, what we will be able to do, what freedoms we're going to have to give up, what securities we're going to have to give into, I'm sorry, but you may be the most staunch climate activist out there. You're not going to like it. You're not going to. And I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about this. And I know it's a big issue. And the reason why I'm only bringing it up because it's on the news all the time right now. And I just want you to think about that. I'm curious. I'm really, really curious. What are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give it all up? Are you willing to give up your AC in your car and your phone and your computer and all that good stuff so that we can bring the temperature down a degree? I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. Just think about that. And I'd really love to know your comment about this. And hopefully I'll earn your like and to share this. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me on these shows, on these segments that I do on Curiosities. I like the interaction. Keep it coming. Keep sending me the DMs. Keep putting the comments in there. Keep sharing it with others. I think it's an important topic, and it's a subject. It's a serious conversation we need to have. I'm not pretending to have the answer. I'm not suggesting I do. I'm just stating the fact that we need to have that conversation. So think about that. Curious to know what you think. Until next time, God bless.
New Kingdom Radio Theater.